I've drawn my lines diagonally in both directions on my big squares for the Magic 8 at a time half square triangle method. We want to sew a scant line, so my 1/4 inch is to the outside of this foot. So I'm going to be thinking about lining that up just to the inside of the foot, just to give myself a little bit of extra wiggle room. Remember that we are going to be trimming these blocks down at the end. I do have a thread bunny in there just so that it's easier. I don't have to like stop and cut threads, pull threads. All right, my marker is really, really light. I'm making sure I can still see it well. Now you can see how this tape helps me as I get to the end. It's more visible. All right, and then we'll continue to sew all the directions of the diagonal. So I couldn't find my water-soluble fabric marker, which is really what I prefer, like the Mark Be Gone Blue kind of a marker pen. But I found this one that came in a pack with one of the blue ones that's disappearing ink. See that? It's not super strong. Oh wait, there we go. The first time I used it, it was just going to be pretty light. So on whichever piece of fabric, you can see whatever tool you're marking with best. Mark lines on the diagonal across corner to corner, both directions. If I was using a darker fabric, I did pull out, I had a water-soluble marking pencil that's white. I can't say I really know what it's made out of, but it feels like drawing like a white chalk line. It's obviously water-soluble, so I'm not really sure what it is. But if I had a dark color fabric, that would work. For this set of HSTs, I wanted to do a low volume and a pink. Remember that around the pixelated edges of the Jen Kingwell Boho Heart quilt, I want to soften out those pixel edges by, instead of having strips all the way up to the heart, by having some half square triangles that are half low volume, half pink. You can imagine that. I'll stick that in on the heart to soften that up and make it look more like a drawn heart. Now I want to make sure that they're lined up, stacked right sides together. And I'm just going to pin it some to make sure it's not moving as I'm sewing. These are clover pins. They're very thin and long. These are my favorites. This disappearing pin that is really kind of already faded to a soft pink isn't my favorite. And I did go ahead and put the blue pins back on my grocery list to grab some tomorrow at the store. You can see that I've already sewn one block back behind, and now I can just continue with the next one. And I'm just looking at just inside the toe of my 1/4 inch foot until I get out here and I can see where my line is going to meet my tape. As I'm getting close to that pin, ooh, I almost overdid it. Some of you are like, no, Holly, you overdid it. Now what I'll do is cut the back one off. All right. I wish this line was darker for you. I always think that I'm going to like have a set of examples that I do for you that are like neon and bright red and black and white, and then I never actually do it. All right, so there's the drawn line, and now we want to sew a 1/4 inch on the other side of it. I kind of like just keeping my line with the same, my drawn line with the same foot. Like you could actually, you know, do either or. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you're being consistent. Now, at this point, I've got lines going both directions. I can go ahead and take out my pins. And that's not for any other reason than just so I don't stab myself at this point with a pin. So you've sewn on either side of your diagonal line that you drew, both directions. And now what we're going to do, we drew diagonally. We'll cut those lines last. The first cut that we're going to make are that we need a vertical and a horizontal line. We're going to be trying to keep our square in place without jostling the mat. So give yourself some room to work. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to remember what size block you did. Mine was 7 inches. So if I go to 3.5, that's my midpoint. And that should line up with where my 2 X's are here. So once you kind of know that you've got the block lined up on the mat, you can find that half mark and get it lined up pretty quickly. And you don't have to draw this part. Right now, I'm going to keep things in place. I'm going to pick up my ruler, not moving it. If I accidentally jostle, I'm going to kind of just mash things back together if I feel like they've separated, because now I want to find my other direction. And I feel like this is a little bit skewed, so I'm going to zhuzh it back. We have made these blocks so that we actually have a good bit of wiggle room when we trim them down. So even if you find that your cutting lines here aren't exactly perfect, if something has wiggled a bit, you're going to be fine. All right, so there's our first cuts. Things are still in place. We're going to gently place the ruler. And the way I'm doing that is I'm letting it rest on its back edge, and then I'm going to drop it down on the diagonal line. And again, corner to corner. Lift it carefully. And at this point, if something went awry and you've messed it up, you know that you're just cutting on the drawn diagonal lines. So you could still cut these little pieces one at a time, but there is our 8 at a time. Oh, I didn't see, I didn't get that one cut somewhere. But you just line it back up to that line again. No worries. Eight at a time, half square triangles. You don't have to iron anything at this point, because at this point, we're going to use our trim tool. We're headed to this size. So you can see, we really are going to trim off quite a lot. But that's okay. That's better than being too short. This means we're making sure that both sides are the same. If fabric is at an absolute premium and you want to use the 8 at a time method, instead of and you want your fabric to come out exactly the right size, you don't want to waste any inch trimming, you're going to add just 1/2 inch instead of 1 inch. But remember, we added that extra 1 inch to give ourselves room to trim with this ruler. Gonna make sure you're keeping your fingers out of the way. A rotating mat would probably be great. Mine's not out here tonight, and I don't care. So you can see those little dog ears come away. Let me zoom in and show you that. Those little dog ears come away, and then you'll press it open, and I'm just gonna hang on, let me show you that. All right, so with my lighter color down, I'm gonna press it open. So for most of our Jen King Will Boho heart blocks, when we're just doing half square triangles, we can just press to keep the seam allowance moving toward the dark side, just so it's not visible underneath your lighter low volume fabric. When we get to pinwheels, we're gonna start to have a lot of bulk at that center of that pinwheel. When we get to those pinwheels, you may need to press your seams open, but you can see that that's nice and trimmed, and that will work for you to sew. There's a little bit of overhang there, but it'll be fine. Then you would press your seams open for those pinwheels, but otherwise, just pressing it to one side would be good. When I align, I'm lining my thread up. You can see that I did add a little tape to give me some traction. But what's happening is as I'm up here, I don't have a piece of tape. I might need to add a piece up there. Oh, did I show you what I'm cutting? You see it? So I'm cutting at the 2.5 inch mark. Here's the dotted line where I'm matching my thread to, and then there's the solid line that I'll be matching kind of the bottom edge to. But the thread is the important piece. If you've sewn it really scant, like on this one, your bottom fabric won't come all the way down, but that's okay because the thread represents where it opens up at. And so that's what you want to have be aligned.